Yesterday I recorded a longish video in which I talked about neoliberalism and what exactly constitutes neoliberalism. And I went on a bit. It was over 30 minutes long, and talked about the weird evolution of things and the weird inversion of things in many ways. Whereas, for example, less than a decade ago, you could still be a liberal in good standing and be pro Julian Assange, be pro Edward Snowden, be against the surveillance state, be critical of American foreign policy, be critical of drone strikes killing civilians, in various countries across the world, in drone strikes that are conducted by the U.S. military. All these kinds of things. It used to be like basically kind of made for liberal bona fides. And there was a time when I would say one's opposition to American foreign policy was almost the defining aspect of being liberal or a leftist. There were the domestic kinds of issues as well, but it seemed like the foreign policy stuff was really high up there when it came to defining a liberal. Well, that has all changed, and I mean it has all changed. It has changed so totally, so shockingly, with like the inversion has been just shocking to behold, both for how quickly it coalesced and fell into place, and also just now how basically if you are a neoliberal, that is a mainstream liberal. I'm not including, the dirtbag left. I'm not including the non-affiliated left. I'm not including leftists who are critical of Democrats. I know that they exist out there, just like there were right-wing people who like the paleocons who existed out there, who were also critical of American foreign policy in the past. But I am aware that they exist, and I'm not including them in this general indictment. I think because what I'm saying amounts to an indictment of a perspective that has grown increasingly authoritarian, if not totalitarian, which brooks absolutely no consent, which kicks you out if you ask questions, if you have objections. That's what neoliberalism is today. It has become a monster. It has become this behemoth, similar in some ways to what it meant to be a neocon a couple of decades ago, but I would argue even worse, because when the neocons were in power, it wasn't like you couldn't criticize them without having all of the media and everyone who supposedly represents goodness and virtue and so forth. You couldn't, you could criticize the neocons and get a lot of support from people in the media and from other institutions. But if you criticize the neoliberals today, you've basically shown yourself to be, they feel free to call you racist. They feel free to call you a Nazi. They feel free to call you whatever, you're alt-right, you're just an incel, they fling all of their invective and all of their contrived insults at you. And even if you're of the left, that's no defense. That's no excuse. You're still, considered to be a reprobate. So today, the neoliberals love the surveillance state. They see no problems. There are no concerns with an increasingly intrusive government. If you don't like Alexa in your home, if you don't, if you think Alexa is spying on you, which it probably is, if you're against secret cameras everywhere, trying to catch you out on this, that, or the other thing, then you're suspect if you question the surveillance state. There is no sympathy for Edward Snowden. There's no sympathy, especially for Julian Assange. Julian Assange used to be the toast of the left, and now he's rotting in prison in Great Britain, and nobody cares. It's awful. It's awful what they're doing to him, and how his former allies have forsaken him. Now, I'm not only indicting people, on the left side of the spectrum who are in power, but I am indicting them on this point because they're the ones who stabbed him in the back. They're the ones who betrayed him, because he had the temerity to expose things about Hillary Clinton. That was really the start of all this. It was like, we've got to whatever helps Trump and whatever does not help Hillary Clinton is whatever helps Trump is bad, and whatever helps Hillary Clinton is good. That was how people on the left started thinking. That was what they started believing. That was their perspective. That became their perspective. And again, the shift started to happen around 2015, 2016. And it wasn't just people on the left, but it was the whole establishment, which included, the establishment left, and also the, what's called the establishment right, or certain aspects of the establishment right, who were all just unanimous in their hatred of anything, of Trump, and anything and everything that could be said to be called Trump-esque or Trump adjacent, or what have you, which is basically anything that was anti-establishment, anything anti-establishment, anything hinting that the agents of the establishment, that the alphabet agencies were up to no good, anything indicating that the politicians in Washington were up to no good, anything indicating that executives in Hollywood were up to no good, thing which said anything bad about American power or about Western power centers in general became branded with this, this is Nazi, yes, this is dog whistling for fascism. This is, Trumpian rhetoric. And it just never quit. And so suddenly, we find ourselves in this position today. Okay, you criticize the White House, that's bad. You're bad. You're a bad person. You're probably a Nazi. You're probably you're evil. You criticize the FBI, criticize the CIA, criticize the State Department, criticize American foreign policy, criticize American interventionism anywhere in the world today, then you're attacked by the mainstream left, by the neoliberals, and by their puppets in the media. There used to be more checks and balances among types in the media and the government and different branches of the government and so forth. But right now they're all they've all coalesced and they're all saying the same things. And what's really alarming is that suddenly you have to believe what the establishment tells you, and that's what ultimately this boils down to: believe what they tell you, or you're suspect, and also disbelieve what these dissenting voices tell you. Disbelieve, dismiss them out of hand, deplatform them, kick them to the curb, grind them into dust, or else, if you show any hesitation about doing anything like that, then, well, silence is violence. Silence is violence. And if you didn't participate in shouting down and debanking and removing, taking the bank account away from somebody who says something contrary to what the neoliberal establishment is trying to broadcast to the world and pretend that it's truth. If you don't take part in that, then silence is violence, and you're just as bad as they are. It used to be a bona fide of the left. Again, not so long ago. We're not talking about the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We're talking about as recently as 2014 or so. It used to be that if you were against American interventionism or useless wars, useless use of the military-industrial complex, raiding some country just for some transparently self-interested ends that help the Western world in general, but culminate in the commission of atrocities against civilians. It used to be that if you were against that, then you were a good liberal. But now, one of the only good things that Trump ever did, according to the neoliberal establishment, was when he bombed Syria. That was the only, and they were singing his praises on CNN. When he bombed Syria, they were like, yeah, there we go. That's more like it. And then they turned against him again once he stopped. It's just, this is clown world. This is absurd. I know that was several years ago. That was like 2017, 2018 or whatever. But I mean, it still holds today. And it's crazy. It didn't used to be so bad. It got so bad so fast. It's not like the mainstream media was ever exactly trustworthy, but like 2014 and before, they weren't like they are now. They weren't like just, we have to push this story to further the aims and goals of the American establishment. We have to broadcast this story with this kind of obvious slant. And again, to be pro-war, to be like, yeah, let's just keep that war going in Ukraine. Let's just, Ukrainians are dying left and right. Good, because they're killing a lot of Russians too. So and boo Russia, boo Putin. And so, anyone who says, why don't we try to make a peace settlement? No peace. No peace. These are fucking liberals saying these kinds of things, having these kinds of attitudes. No, how dare you talk about peace? Only Nazis would want peace with Russia. Only Nazis would want to forge a peace in the Russia-Ukrainian conflict. Oh, man. Yeah, it's part of the world just having gone crazy. But it's something that needs to be talked about. It's something that needs to be looked at in the bigger picture, because it's like, how did we get here? What the hell happened? And that's what I'm sort of been trying to grapple with in this video and the one before it. So I'm going to end this one now, so it doesn't get quite. It's only about half the size of the one I recorded yesterday, and I'm saying a lot of the same things, but hopefully this is, hopefully it's not too redundant. So anyway, leave your thoughts below. Thanks for watching.